Thank you very much, Mr. Eguegu, for joining us. Now, ECOWAS has resolved to give Mali's military transitional government 12 to 16 months to hold elections. What are your thoughts on the ECOWAS compromise, and do you think Mali's leaders will respect this ultimatum?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So one of the things we've seen with the whole transition process is there's a lot of back and forth, right? So ECOWAS understands very clearly that within Mali, the military government enjoys wide range of support. Everyone might not agree with them, but at least on the streets, you would find that they have a lot of support. So ECOWAS does not want to come off as being too I'm saying too much of an overload over the lives of Malians. So that is why you see that it recognizes that it has to engage in dialogue with the junta. But at the same time, the junta itself understands very well that ECOWAS has other more punitive ways of dealing with these type of situation. I mean, we saw that, for instance, with the Gambia not so long ago, and that means that they too also have to make some concessions. So as it stands now, the 5 years proposal that the military government in Bamako gave forth, after missing February's deadline for the election, was too much for ECOWAS, and then they're revising that to about 2 years. And that shows they are willing to compromise. But I think for ECOWAS's deadline of 16 months, that might be still be too short a transition period. But it will come down to political calculations that Bamako would have to make, looking at its internal support it enjoys among the population, and also the kind of the language and indicators from ECOWAS if they seem keen to taking more punitive measures.
Mali's interim government failed on a promise to hold elections in February and first said it would keep ruling until at least 2025, and that was then revised down to 24 months. So what can ECOWAS do differently to make sure countries like Mali stick to timelines in restoring constitutional order?
Yeah, so one of the things that that's frequently come up in the debate and the discourse around unconstitutional power grabs is the fact that so many governments, or let's put it this way, in so many countries, there are very genuine dissatisfaction with their government, and for ECOWAS that is a problem. But it doesn't seem as much as a problem as when you see the coups. So they tend to focus on the coups and the power grabs, as opposed to the conditions that create this power, that creates some of justification for the power grabs in the first place. So what I think ECOWAS would do going forward is to double down on sanctions, try to perhaps bring in even more international players and partners to tighten the grip on these countries and ensure that they are really cut off from the outside world, beyond the West African region. And I think that is something they could do. But at the same time, of course, the possibility, although they're not mentioning that yet, but the possibility of military intervention is still there. And I think that is what countries like Mali, Guinea understand very clearly, because they saw how, for instance, when Yahya Jammeh refused to concede a defeat to Adama Barrow, we saw ECOWAS and countries like Nigeria leading the charge with Liberia to actually ensure that he's deposed from power. So there is a very fine balance that Bamako, Conakry, and these capitals will have to really thread for them to be able to both meet whatever objectives that they sought as good enough for them to carry out the coup, but at the same time not put the country in a position where it is facing an impending military intervention, which can be very, very disruptive and would erode whatever legitimacy or credibility that they had in the first place.
All right, we appreciate you talking to us. Thank you very much. Ovigwe Eguegu joining us via Zoom from Abuja in Nigeria.